What's up guys, welcome to the Surfing Connoisseur. As you can see, things are looking a little bit different this week. My boards are gone, wetsuit sorry, my bodyboards which are slightly out of shot today are gone because I'm moving house. However, I am still doing my Fiji Pro fantasy surfer video, although this hat looks ridiculous on me. So let's go for this Fiji hat, which is slightly more normal. No longer Volcom, but still Fiji Pro. Let's go. So as I say, apologies once more, and for the last time apologising that this video is a bit more choppy and rough around the edges than normal. But I didn't want to miss the fancy surfing video. I'm literally moving house tomorrow though. So tonight is going to be spent packing, yesterday we spent packing, tomorrow we spent packing. It's just all packing and moving at the moment. But I didn't want to miss this video. So totally raw, uncut, no edits, blah. You've got it. Please don't be put off by this video if this isn't your thing. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see my future ones, which are slightly more cut together better, I'd like to think. So I'm going to jump straight into looking at what the surf's like Fiji very briefly. At the start of the window, it looks like we're forecasting some good swell with good winds. So it looks like it'll probably kick off in the early days of the men's event window, which is why I'm trying to get this video up now. I believe it kicks off on the 4th of June, maybe the 3rd. As I say, I've been rushing to this together, so apologies for the facts on this video. From then it will run probably in the first day or so, and right through the window then it seems to drop off slowly. My forecast sites I use, Magic Seaweed, don't actually extend on the system I have at the moment to the final days of the period, so we may get a pulse at the end, but there'll certainly be some good waves in the early period. So I've tried to pick surfers tailored in good heavy waves, also factoring that some days may run in smaller surf, I guess. Towards the end of the window, depending on how they share things out and push things, how far they dare push into that window. So first, my Surfer Mag version, I had to make a difficult decision between Matty and Adriana de Souza, who were both in my team at a similar price and get rid of them, but I'll get back to that a bit later because I'll start from my price and work down. So my first pick was John Florence. As I say, heavy Fiji forecast, big left-hand wave. It's hard to look past John, especially on his current form. Previous form at Fiji, he's finished quarters in 2016. He was injured in 15, then he has another quarters result in 14 and a semis result in 13, which is a hell of a history there. And if anything, it's kind of underperforming to John not to have won, given his form in left-hand heavy waves. Just ridiculously good. So yeah, definitely thumbs up for me despite his expensive price tag. Next up, Kelly Slater. Pretty strong run of results at Fiji. It's like a second home to him, as anyone knows. It's his favourite wave. His company are sponsoring the event. Kind of says it all. Even on years when his performance at Fiji has been worse, his performance on the tour has been worse, his performances at Fiji have tended to be better than his rest. So definitely a good spot for Kelly. 2016 he finished in the semis, 15 was a round 5, 14 was a quarters, and then 13 he won the event. So strong run of results to back that up. Next up I'm going Gabriel Medina. This was the risky decision I was talking about where I dropped Matty Wilkinson. Risky for me, more due to the fact that we're approaching J-Bay, where I think Matty's going to perform well. So I'm losing Matty at the price I have him. If he puts a good result in at Fiji, he may cost more and I may be wanting to buy him back. I've risked it though, because if he doesn't put in a good result at Fiji and exits early, I may be able to buy him back cheap enough anyway. And also Gabriel's not sloppy himself at J-Bay. Looking at them both together again, Wilco, although he finaled last year at Fiji, he had I think it was a string of round 2 exits prior to that. So weighing it up, I went to Gabriel, who won the event in 16 and 14, although it had 2 round 2 exits in 15 and 13. So arguably not the best event history record ever, especially for a guy of Gabriel's calibre. But the years he's won the event really stood out to me, and it just to me is a way that I think suits him well when you think about how he performs at pipe and things like that. So yeah, between the two, Gabriel Medina for me. Hoping he'll break his year on, year off pattern, or if he's keeping that year on, year off pattern, it looks like he's going out in round 2, but I'm risking it. Next up, Adriana de Souza. Not a type of wave in my head I think Adriana de Souza is going to perform well at, but he doesn't have the worst of records, and I have him pretty cheap at the moment. So I'm going to keep him. I think from memory I paid 7.5 for him and he's now in the 9s, so he's good saving. And he's just a consistent performer, so I'll probably try and keep him in my team for the rest of the year if possible. But his previous results at Fiji in particular are a quarters in 16, which was a funky heat to Medina he went out with, where Medina beat him with a 10.86 to an 8.83, which is obviously not very high scoring by those guys' terms, especially once you to the quarterfinals. He went out really early in round 15, round 2, to an on-fire Dane Reynolds, who had a heat total of 18.34. Adrian de Souza's total was 13.64, which was actually round about what most of the other guys at the event that day was. So he didn't massively underperform, he just got massively outperformed by Dane. 2014 he was a quarterfinals finisher, and again he was another poor result in 2013 to Yaden Nicole, who had it was a 0.17 he beat him by, so pretty close heat. So despite Adriano's hit and miss history, there are some things to explain his eliminations which drew me to him and kept me with him, especially at the price tag I had him. Next up, I'm going Mick Fanning, another super cheap guy that I got at the start of the year, and will probably be keeping for the whole year if possible. At least for now anyway, especially with Jay Bay approaching. He's another one that I really want to keep for then. Regardless of that, he has a pretty good history at Fiji, with a quarters result in 16, a round 5 in 15, a quarters in 14, and runner-up to Kelly in 13. So it's one of the best results on the tour, one of the best history of results on the tour at Fiji. So at the price, not to be sniffed at in my eyes. So as we work down, we're seeing into the more risky picks now, the ones we've got to be a bit cleverer. I'm keeping Zeke Lau. I've got him a bit of a cheaper price than most of the guys in that category, and I tend to start thinking that once you get down that low, any savings you can make are great and amplified. No history at Fiji, but he is known to like heavy left-handers. His first heat is against Adrian de Souza and Leo Fioravanti. So, despite what I said about Adriano previously, it's a heat he could potentially make it through. They've all got quite different styles of surfing, so if the judges lean more towards Zeke's and that type of surfing, who knows? And yeah, just to me, of the guys we didn't have any history on, I was more drawn to him, as I have been for most of the year. As you can probably tell, I'm a bit biased. Used to really enjoy watching him on the CT on the QT qualifying tour. Yeah, QT. So next up though, Wiggly Dontas. I have him at a good price, but he's got a good history too, and a bit of a wild card maybe that a lot of people would overlook at his price, despite a poor result in 2014 where he finished in round 2, eliminated in round 2 to Mick. He has 2 quarterfinals results in 15 and 16, which for his price is really strong and definitely something I'm prepared to take the risk on, if you'd want to call it a risk with that history. And rounding off my Surf Mag team, I am going Nat Young, who is just so cheap. He's hard to avoid. He was a great surfer on the CT. He's got a consistency in heats which a lot of guys didn't. Kind of, to me, I was surprised when he fell off. But for the price, and he's got a bit of a mixed history, I should add, at Fiji, with a round 2 heat last year, a round 3 in 15, a runner-up in 14, and a round 5 in 13. So it's a bit of everything in there. But for me, again, for the price, $1,500, pretty hard to look past. So that wraps up my Surf Mag team. As for my WSL team, I, as always, have tried to keep them fairly similar, just because the research I've done for my Surf Mag team all applies to the next team. So I'll only detail the guys who are different. So I've kept John Florence in my tier A, but I have gone for a certain Owen Wright as my next pick. Anybody who knows Owen's history at Fiji will know why. The only reason he's not in my fantasy team is because I can't afford him around the surface I've got, and I've got certain guys on good deals, so I unfortunately couldn't fit him in there, but I really would if I could. He's sitting joint second in the world as well this year, so he's got a real good history and current form. He didn't compete at Fiji in 2016, but he has started the year great, obviously this year, and we know he performs well in heavy water waves. Looking back at his history, he was injured in 16, obviously the real horrific injury he suffered at Pipe. He won the event in 2015, which if anybody who watched it, I'm sure will be ingrained in your memory when he got the 2 perfect heats, is really the reason I'm putting him in my team. He was round 5 in 2014, and he was injured again in 2013. So there's a couple of injuries there which make it hard to gauge. But anyone who remembers that 2015 year would probably be all over him if they can. In this team, you don't have to afford him, I suppose, but in your other team, afford him, and in this team, just go for him, I guess. Where are we? So yeah, looking down at my tier B, I've gone for Gabriel Medina, Mick Fanning, Kelly Slater, and Wiggly Dantas, all who are carried over, you'll recollect, so I won't repeat what I've already said. Starting off my tier C, I've gone for Nat Young, who I detailed in my last section. As I said, bit of a mixed history, mixed bag. $1,500 in the other one was a real selling point. But again, looking at a lot of the guys in this category when they're unknowns or have poor histories there, I thought it was worth the risk on that. And then rounding it out, I've actually gone for a bit of a change. I've gone for Jadson Andre, who has a round 15. Round 15? Who has round 15? Has a round 5 finish in 2016 and a round 3 finish in 2015, which was not great. But my logic was that it's, for a guy in the bottom bracket, just making the one heat's kind of better than nothing. Certainly when you look at that category, it's always really difficult to pull out someone who's going to go long into the event, and they do, and that's where you make your gains. And this year, I just think Jadson might do it. He's certainly round 5 in the past is not bad at all for a TSE surfer. There are other names in this category with similar potential. I'm looking at Josh Kerr, who I quite liked. But I looked at Jadson's round 1 heat against Chloe Andino and Federico Moraes, who, whilst both pretty capable surfers, are quite different. And it was almost the logic I had with Zeke Lau that depending on how the judges go and what the surf's like, we could do it. Andino's got a great history at Fiji, don't get me wrong. But he's also quite hit and miss in heats. Like whenever I expect Chloe to surf well, he never seems to. I think I must curse him when I choose him. But yeah, that rounds off my team, guys. I apologise for my shared poor camera quality, poor audio quality, the lack of editing. But this will be hopefully the last one. As I say, I'm moving tomorrow, so it's going to be pretty hectic over the next month or so, I imagine, getting into that house. But next video you see will be in a new surroundings. I will do everything I can not to miss any fantasy surfer videos in that process. So if you want to see future ones, whack the subscribe circle at the end of this video. I'll whack some squares up there as well so you can check some of my other stuff out, because it's not all fantasy surfer. It's been a bit quiet on that front recently, but I will be getting some more stuff up like that once I've moved and I've settled in at my new home. Thank you for the continued support, guys, especially when I'm putting up videos like this and they're a bit rushed. But I appreciate it, and I hope you do too. Whack that like button if you want my next videos to be better. Thank you very much for watching this, guys. I'll see you soon.